leave me. Kyle. No, Kyle.
All right, let's dive deeper into the story of Out Come the Wolves and really flesh it out with all the details. We're in this remote cabin, smack dab in the middle of the wilderness. It's isolated, surrounded by dense forest, perfect for a weekend hunting trip, or at least that's what our characters think at first. We start off with Nolan, who's just arrived at the cabin. He's meeting up with his best friend Sophie and her fiancé, Kyle. Now, Sophie and Nolan go way back, like childhood buddies kind of back, and you can tell they've got a lot of history together. They greet each other with big smiles and warm hugs. There's a genuine bond there. Then Kyle shows up. He's the new guy in this little trio, and there's this immediate tension. Not the kind of tension that's openly hostile, more of that awkward, I'm not sure how to feel about you yet kind of vibe. Kyle's this rugged outdoorsman, the kind of guy who feels at home in the wild. He's here to teach Nolan a thing or two about hunting, specifically bow hunting, which is no easy feat. Right off the bat, we see that Kyle is sizing Nolan up. He makes these little comments, like he's testing the waters, seeing what kind of man Nolan is. Sophie tries to keep things light, teasing Nolan about his lack of hunting skills and bragging about how Kyle's such a great hunter. But there's an undercurrent of something else. Jealousy, maybe? Or maybe just a bit of insecurity. As they settle in, there's this scene where Sophie shows off her own skills with a bow. She's surprisingly good, hitting targets with ease. Kyle and Nolan share a look. Kyle's impressed. But Nolan, he's got this look of surprise and maybe a little bit of admiration. Sophie's clearly not just the cute, innocent friend Nolan remembers. She's tough, capable, and has grown into someone who can handle herself. They spend the evening around the campfire, sharing stories, drinking, and just relaxing. The conversation turns to their childhood, and Kyle keeps poking at this idea that maybe Nolan and Sophie were more than just friends. Nolan brushes it off, laughs it away, but you can tell it's getting to him. And Sophie, she's just sitting there watching them, almost like she's waiting to see how it all plays out. The next morning, they set out into the woods. It's Nolan's first time hunting, and he's nervous. Kyle's leading the way, giving him pointers, explaining how to track animals, what signs to look for. They come across some deer tracks, and Kyle gets excited. He tells Nolan to get ready, to be quiet, be patient. But you can see Nolan's hands are shaking a bit. He's not a natural at this. They spot a deer, and Kyle whispers for Nolan to take the shot. Nolan takes a deep breath, pulls back the bowstring, aims, and misses. The deer bolts, and for a moment, everything's still. And then, out of nowhere, a wolf appears. It's just standing there, watching them, eyes glinting in the shadows. Kyle's on high alert. He tells Nolan to stay still, not to make any sudden movements. He slowly reaches for his rifle, but the wolf just stands there like it's studying them. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, the wolf slinks back into the forest. The tension, the fear, it doesn't leave with it. They decide to head back to the cabin, feeling like they might be in over their heads. Sophie's waiting for them, worried because they were gone longer than expected. They tell her what happened, and she's immediately on edge. There haven't been wolves in this area for years, she says, but Kyle's not convinced. He thinks they might be being watched, stalked even. That night, things take a darker turn. The atmosphere in the cabin is tense. They can hear noises outside, twigs snapping, low growls, the rustle of leaves.
Hey there, fellow. I hope you're enjoying this video so far. I wanted to take a quick moment to ask you what you think of this video so far. If you're liking it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, now's the perfect time to do it. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date on all my latest videos and updates, and you'll get to see even more awesome content. So what are you waiting for? Like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.
It's unnerving. Kyle's convinced the wolves are back, but Nolan thinks it's just their nerves getting the best of them. Then, there's a loud thud against the door. They all jump. Kyle grabs his rifle, Sophie takes a kitchen knife, and Nolan's just standing there, frozen. The door creaks open a bit, but nothing comes in. They can hear scratching, low growls, and then silence. Out of nowhere, the wolves attack. They come crashing through the windows, snarling and snapping. Chaos. Kyle starts firing, Sophie slashing with the knife, and Nolan grabs a chair and starts swinging. They manage to fend them off, but not without injury. Kyle gets bitten, Sophie's scratched up, and Nolan's arm is bleeding. They manage to barricade the doors and windows, but they know they're in serious trouble. They spend the night huddled together, trying to stay awake, trying to listen for any sign of another attack. But morning comes, and with it, a tense calm. Kyle insists they need to go back out, try to find help or at least figure out what's going on. Sophie's against it, she wants to stay put, wait for help. But Nolan sides with Kyle. He thinks they can't just sit there and wait to be picked off. So they head back into the woods, but this time it feels different. The forest seems darker, quieter, like it's holding its breath. They're moving slowly, cautiously, every twig snap making them jump. Then, they find something, a half-eaten deer carcass. It's fresh, blood still pooling around it. Kyle kneels down, examining it. This wasn't just any attack, he says. This was a warning. Suddenly they hear it. A howl, long and piercing. Then another and another. They're surrounded. The wolves are back, and this time they're not just watching. They're hunting. Kyle yells for them to run, and they take off, sprinting through the trees, branches whipping at their faces. Sophie trips and falls. Nolan pulls her up, and they keep running. But the wolves are fast. They can hear them closing in, snarling, barking. They stumble upon an old shed, half hidden by overgrowth. They rush inside, slamming the door behind them. It's dark, musty, filled with old tools and hunting gear. They find a few old flares, a rusty axe. Kyle's breathing heavy, his bite wound bleeding through his bandage. Sophie's trying to stay calm, but she's scared. Nolan's looking for anything they can use, anything to help them survive. The wolves start circling the shed, scratching at the walls, trying to get in. Kyle's trying to keep everyone calm, but you can see he's struggling. The fear is starting to get to him. He looks at Nolan and Sophie, and for a moment, it's like he's seeing them for the first time. "I'm sorry," he says, and before they can ask why, he's out the door, running, yelling, trying to draw the wolves away. It works. The wolves chase after him, and for a moment, there's silence. But then they hear it. Kyle screams. Sophie's crying now, begging Nolan to do something, but he knows it's too late. They have to stay put, have to survive. Hours pass, maybe more. They don't hear anything. No wolves, no Kyle, just the wind in the trees. They decide to make a run for it, hoping the wolves are gone. They make it back to the cabin, but it's been ransacked. The wolves have been here, looking for them. They know they're not safe, and that's where we leave them, trapped in the middle of nowhere, hunted by wolves, with no way out. They're scared, desperate, but they're not giving up. Because in the wild, it's kill or be killed. And they're not ready to die just yet.